because of race. And they want me to feel that I'm somehow, I have a video loading, and I said in a previous video that it's hard, that somehow something in me is dirty. So it's not just, physical, but in here, it's the idea that I'm a dirty person, so I have to kind of do so much more than everyone else to deal with it. But part of that is saying that if I start to feel that way, that my body is dirty, that, certain parts of my body are dirty, that I'm dirty because, again, it's a racist thing, then I would start to become overly aware of race. And that's part of making me feel uncomfortable. So the thought is that I'm supposed to be uncomfortable all the time. And when they started talking about this, they started saying, well, I always had a hygiene problem. So I used a screenshot, I forgot a sticker of when I was in a team activity in high school. No one's ever talked about my hygiene. It's never been an issue, except suddenly now it's an issue. These people said that they always had an issue with my hygiene, and they've never mentioned it. That would be something you would talk about. But they're saying, no, they never mentioned me ever having a hygiene problem. So again, it seems like it's like the part of the abuse is changing what I remember. So I would have to sit back and say, you've never said that. You've never mentioned that. And then they thought that my personality assessment was that I have to keep proving myself. So they thought I was going to show a picture of myself when I was younger, like a picture of my skin. Because I said I don't want to use any childhood pictures because this really involves some sort of child sex abuse. I don't know why, but it does. So they thought I would show like a picture of myself when I was younger, like just my cheek or something, to prove that I was darker than I am now. I'm the same color. I don't understand how, even with this, they said, you're going to have different lighting. And I said, I want you to see me in different lighting to show I didn't change my skin color. So they're like, I'm going to have to prove that. I don't have to. People know me and they know I didn't change my skin color. This to me is still like a medium dark skin color. Why I say medium dark and not dark, because in certain lights I look lighter. So if I were to, I don't want to stand up, but if I were to stand up, you'll see I'll look more like a medium coloring. But in this darker light, if I go down like this, let me see where the voice will start to go. My spine is the issue. I'll look darker. Okay, let's see what this person has to say. Beware of the mark of the beast. God loves you. Thank you. God loves you also. Do you guys see the chat comments? Someone left a really disgusting chat comment in another chat, and I thought people could see it, but when I looked at the live, I didn't see it. So I don't know. So yeah, so the person's like, beware of the mark of the beast. God loves you. Thank you. God loves you also. The thing I feel about this is that when they say I'm kind of embarrassing myself, that goes back to the way abuse victims are manipulated. So when an abuser is manipulating you, they just said, why do I turn it from you? Because this happens to a lot of abuse victims. When an abuser is manipulating you, they start to make it seem like what they're doing isn't the issue. It's how you talk about it. It's how you react to it. It's if your life starts to change. And that's part of this. And why I wanted to make this as public as it is because my life is changing. I'm not going to be able to do everything I could do before if I'm working twice as hard as I had to before. So when they say I had a hygiene problem and then they're like, never talked about it. I have papers and emails and cards and things from them, never talked about this hygiene problem. So I'm wondering, like, if during the time when you noticed I had this hygiene problem, what was going on? Why didn't you say anything about it? Why didn't you acknowledge it? Why didn't you put it in one of your cards when you were thanking me for helping you? So during my hygiene problem, I'm talking to them. If I'm helping you, how the hell could you ignore the fact that it was obviously taking a toll on my life if I had a hygiene problem, just like this is taking a toll on my life right now. This is my issue. My issue is I'm in such a difficult situation now that it's taking a toll on me. And if you can't acknowledge that their abuse is the reason for it, then that's the issue. The issue isn't me, it's the abuse. So when you're talking about how abuse victims are manipulated, this is showing you. I'm on this telling you and showing you. It's because suddenly I shouldn't tell. What will people think of you? Well, what will people think of the abusers? That's my question. They want to know, what will people think of me? They'll think she's going through something very difficult. So they said the reason they wanted to put me in this program, now the program's changed from punishment to being something where someone went through a difficult time. They said the person went to federal prison and they needed someone to kind of talk about her life and how good she was. But if she wasn't good, then why would I talk about her that way? You want the truth. You don't want the same type of lies that they're saying about me for me to say about them. I'm giving you the truth. I'm giving you the reality. During the same time I was supposed to have a hygiene problem, I have proof that I was a good friend and I helped and supported this person and her family. So they don't want me to talk about this publicly. They said every time I treat them this way, then they punish me. Then that means I have to continue to talk about it, because if this wasn't the truth that people knew as true, the reality, then they have to know. And what I'm saying is I've talked about this before. They have been a difficult part of my life for years. And if you're enabling that difficulty to continue, then you're part of the abuse. And it's this whole system that's abusive. So I want to take it out of gang stalking, which is a group stalking, to more abuse. If a system allows someone who's been victimized to continue to be victimized, then the system is the issue. The system is holding up the abusers over the victims. And the system, it's making abusers powerful, publicized. If a victim is equal to the abuser, then it's a different type of system. But in a system where your abuser is above you and no way of getting free of that person, then that's part of the system. The system enables the abuser to always have access to you, always continue to abuse you, always continue to find you. So when they were doing all of this and they're accusing me of all sorts of things, they said, I really can't hear them. I heard that. When they're accusing me of all sorts of things, they wondered why I wasn't going to pick up the phone and call them. It was a no contact thing. You know, when you're dealing with people who are abusive to you, you can go no contact. But for them, that ruins the power. How can you not contact me? So they created this whole system to make it look like at night I'm talking to them through the walls. Well, then there's an issue. The bigger issue there is that if you are saying this system existed and you're talking to me through the walls, you can't then say I'm showing symptoms of schizophrenia. And they said they've told so many people about this just to make this public that they can't hide it. So why are we pretending that this isn't happening? And why are we pretending that I'm the only person? They didn't create this system for me. So if we're going to talk about that part of this abuse, if you're talking about a system to talk to people through their walls or be the little voices in their heads, and you didn't tell people that this is possible, and I'm talking about it, then at what point do you stop saying that this is not happening? At what point do you acknowledge, yes, it's happening, it's happened to other people, and this isn't just talking through the walls, it's a whole system. And when you go against this system, they abuse you more. So when they were saying, well, why me? Why did they not just target me, but why did they focus so much on me? I think it's because I was still credible at the time. So it wasn't like, by the time most victims explain this, something horrible has happened to them. So uh, in the reports and so forth, there are victims who said they heard voices, the voices told them to do such and such, blah, blah, blah. That's usually after something bad happens to them. And what I'm doing is showing that this is, God willing. I'm not Catholic anymore, but that's just like something I do automatically. God willing, nothing bad will happen, but this is way before something bad happens. So when they said they put me in touch with people in prison, I'm like, why would you do that? Why? What is it in your what is it about you that would put someone's voices in my apartment and then put me in touch with people in prison? Everything to they said it's because they thought I wouldn't want to be in touch with people. I wouldn't want to be in touch with the people stalking me. Yes. So you mean you're confirming that this was some sort of way of harassing me even more? The other thing about this is that when you're going through abuse and, they're correcting me, they're saying, why am I saying you as opposed to me, like when I'm going through abuse? Because there are aspects of this that I haven't gone through, but that I'm familiar with because of psychology. So when you're going through abuse and you have something that happens in your life when you're going through this abuse, it's more likely than not, you will then say, well, I was going through this abuse and this is part of why this happened to me this way. So meaning, God forbid, something bad happens later on, I wouldn't be at that time saying, oh, this happened to me. No, I've been saying it for years, that at some point, the victims of this system have bad things happen to them and it totally destroys them. As I'm talking, sometimes they're correcting me. So they said they want credit for when they're correcting me so that you guys will know that they're the ones who gave me the idea. And when I do that, I typically give them credit because a lot of their ideas are wrong. They say the wrong words, they use the wrong way of speaking, or they'll say something that's abusive. So when my whole way of thinking, and I have a whole playlist like my way of speaking changed, I'm giving them credit for that. I'm giving them credit for the idea that I would never think of these things. They were talking about celebrities. They talk about celebrities a lot. So a lot of the celebrities they talk about are younger people I really wouldn't be familiar with. So they said, isn't that bad? Like, I'm the type of person, here's them, life according to them. I'm the type of person who doesn't include everyone. Well, at 52, I would think it's weird that I would include everyone. My life wouldn't be about everyone. It would be about me and the people I'm in contact with, or the people, when you talk about celebrities, that I, am interested in. I wouldn't be interested in a bunch of younger celebrities when I grew up watching certain celebrities, watching certain television shows, movies, and that's what I'm interested in. So I, like, when before this, they said, oh, because I had put some posts about 2 movies, and I won't say the movies because they talked about it, and that might be their way of talking to each other. And I didn't talk about it on the channel because something happened in the world, and it would, to me, kind of make a weird connection that I wouldn't have known before it happened. So that goes back to what I'm saying. When their ideas become something I've done, and then they're just latching on to my idea, it's not their idea. So I have a video that I posted yesterday of what I did to a floor lamp and a plastic bottle. I mean, like a globe from the plastic bottle. And they saw me testing out the idea with different things I had already made. I made like a lantern out of a plastic bottle. And they were like, maybe you should buy a lantern and put it on that. No, I was going to buy a lantern before because I talked about it in a video, which is, I'm happy. Like, what I do is I tend to reference things before. And they suggested that I put that lantern on the floor lamp, which goes back to what I'm saying. If they're just latching on to things that I'm doing in my home, they see that the public wouldn't see. It's not their idea. It's my idea. But because I had been doing crafts with lanterns, and I even did a purchase or DIY, like I put on the top, like purchase a DIY with lanterns, it proves that was my idea. But I ended up going in a different direction with the floor lamp anyway. But that's how it is. It's the idea that if they suggest something, it's based on something I'm doing. But when they suggest something completely different, like criminal activity that I normally wouldn't think of, then it becomes clear. Well, why are you suggesting she does that? This so that later on down the line I can be discredited. I can make a big mistake. I could do something wrong. So then they said, well, when you they just said something that beware of the mark of the beast means a threat. No, I don't think it means that. I think this person is saying that beware of this abuse and gang stalking. I don't think it means that. Again, in their minds, I'm going to become a paranoid person. But the reason I'm not a paranoid person is because only they seem to think that the rest of the world doesn't know this is happening. When I'm doing, posts about other people being targeted and they're talking about their experiences, clearly there are many, 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 many people who know this is happening. Clearly there are people who hear the sounds, the noises. In my videos at night, you have the staticky sound. It sounds like, to me, like, when you're a kid, the television channels used to go off at night and you just had like static. It was like, there was no more TV. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like the signal they're using becomes goes like sizzling, like static, and then I hear them talking. So clearly some of the things that I'm hearing, other people hear also, but because they told so many people about this, I don't even have to worry about that anymore. That was something that when, some people were commenting, in the comment sections, that I'm going to seem crazy and different things. They told enough people that I don't seem crazy. What I'm wondering is when I'm talking about this abuse and they're trying to say, well, it's going to, last night they gave me a whole history lesson about the ghettos. I'm like, what does that have to do with this? And I think what it has to do with this is, again, it's part of an abuse system, a system where if I'm talking about my experience, then other people will attach it to history. That really doesn't happen that way. I think what happens is if I'm talking about my experience, people attach it to what's going on in the world today. If they were afraid that people would attach my experience to something that happened historically, then it must have happened before. And what I'm asking them is this: you should stop the system right now. You aren't discrediting me, you're discrediting yourselves, because thousands of people have experienced similar situations right now that I'm going through, and they told so many people, besides the fact that it's out loud. They're playing it on their cell phones out loud where I'm going, like different places that I'm going. So if this is a system that's been used throughout history, then your fear of people attaching it to history is because you've enabled people to attach to history. And why I think that's so weird for abusers to understand is that if you have a victim and the victim is explaining what's going on, and these are familiar things to people, people will then say, why am I, like meaning me, why would I experience those familiar tactics? Then they'll say, well, maybe something in this system was already done. And they'll say, well, who did it? When was it done and how? And it's matching up to the Stasi system. Someone said like in Germany, they have this system and they pronounced it like, I can't pronounce it, but it was like the Stasi. So meaning if we're talking about it being attached to history, then people will start to say that sounds familiar. So meaning if I'm talking about something I'm going through right now, they'll pay attention to what it means. There was an established system that they're using. What they said is the word historical. Why do I use historical history? Again, I don't think my responsibility is to give people tips on speaking. They said I used to do that. I did not. And we've proven it. So they said this system involves other people listening. So when you're interacting with people, they're listening and they're talking. They said it's not recording me, it's recording them so that they can go back to say, well, we told her this at this time, we told her that. And my issue is, why are you doing that at all? So they said at one point it's because they want to be able to say that they've helped me. So was this a time when I had the hygiene problem that you didn't say anything about it? It's not making sense. So if I have a hygiene problem now and you're helping me now, your help isn't helping. It's part of this whole system of abuse where in order for them to say, we were part of her life, she did these things, which is how this started. It's, again, we're talking about people who, once I do something that they feel they want to get sort of a little like famous from, then they come around, then they come up with all these things. So it wasn't always happening. The other thing about that is that we're talking about how it makes me feel. You know, when they started talking about this, they said, because I'm Black. So then they said, well, she has to be, if she says she's African American of West Indian descent, then she would have to be a descendant of slaves in this country. No, descendants of slaves in this country are different because a lot of African Americans are from different places and different descents, ethnicities. So then they had an argument about that. So it becomes, when did all of this become an issue? It became an issue once this system started in my life. I showed pictures of myself, and you know, even now you can see. They said, why do I look West Indian and not like some people from certain areas of the country? I do look West Indian. I've never had anybody, meaning like seriously, say, are you from such and such? No, they say, are you, they usually pick the largest like West Indian, you know, country, but they always know I'm a West Indian. I think it's also because I'm the combination of this accent, you know, we're not going to fool people with this accent, but the combination of this accent and how I look. So they said, well, just now I said, wouldn't that make you foreign? I would be foreign had I been born in a foreign country, but I was born here. So, you know, part of this, of me answering their questions, and there's something I found when I looked at Google AI mode, and it said that they question you. Abusers will start to question you because they have to get back that control. So as a victim, they feel it, they know it. I'm trying to pull my control back from them. And they're fighting me all day, every day to maintain control. And every time I'm pulling, you know, control this way, they're pulling back. So it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, you know, when they're trying to like make me feel that people will become more racist towards them or more anti their culture, again, why include me in this program then? I'm not the first person to say who's involved and do it. There were so many people who said it, but there's something in this about me that they don't want it to come from me. They said that. So they just said the reason they don't want it to come from me is that they put me down as being with them. There's the answer. I said that in a video and they were like, you know, there's the answer. They wanted me to be in their group. And so put me down as, oh, she's with us. I wouldn't be based on your actions. So they said, you know, just based on what they're doing, they feel like they're trying to make it seem like, well, some of this is normal. It's excuse me, I keep saying abnormal because growing up we said abnormal. It's not normal. It's not normal. It's not a normal thing to not let people control their own lives, but when something goes wrong in that person's life, not take responsibility for it. So if you're saying that You are providing voices to help people. When something goes wrong in that person's life, you must take responsibility for it. And that's part of what I'm saying. I'm saying that too many people who have experienced this system had something go wrong for them. When will the people doing this accept responsibility for that? It's not just the abuse that the system treats victims with. It's also the technology that's being used. It's the sabotaging victims. You've seen me sabotage so many times. I do a video, the lighting is off. So at one point, even a video I uploaded yesterday, I kind of did like a V2K versus me thing, like I sometimes do, where I proved I didn't say I wasn't going to use different lighting. I said I wouldn't use better lighting. So meaning I want you guys to see me in different lights, but I'm not going to do a glamorous light because that isn't reality. So that when you see me in lighting like this, you'll see, look how exhausted I look. I sleep like they say, you sleep so many hours a day. And do I look like it? Do I look like I'm getting enough sleep? No, because part of this system is talking to me. And then they say they do something over my head at night because I feel like some weird feeling, like weird feeling. And they said that's the electromagnetic field. And we already know, because on this channel we discussed it, you can change people's emotional state with by putting them in certain electromagnetic fields. That's been established. A lot of this technology has been established. What hasn't been established is what happened to the victims. And the more we start to see that victims who have gone through this have had, look at my head. You've seen my head change shape, change color. Again, this is part of it. They admitted that they were responsible for darkening my skin. At one point, I used to use, this is you'll see here under my arm. I was shaving, I stopped shaving. No, I was shaving, stopped shaving, went back to shaving. Now I stopped shaving again. At one point, I was using my arm as a reference because my arm is usually my true skin color, and you can see my skin on my face is darker. So partially what they said was they were darkening my skin to make me look less descendant of West Indians and more African American or Black, which I am, but more for them to feel like I would look less foreign. But to me, once you darken my skin, I look more foreign because my features, the light hits my nose in a different way. They said my eyelids are, you see how my eyelids are kind of droopy? So my features look to me more foreign, but it definitely changes what you see. You see this area more. So that goes to me back to facial recognition biometrics. So when when I'm using my old passport pictures or old pictures, you can see I look the same. But when they do this to me, it starts to change my facial features. My face starts to look sort of different. And I'm wondering if biometrics measures like the distance between your eyes and your nose, your different points, does that change? I've never thought about it before all this, of course, but even I'm looking at myself in the different videos, and I do like screenshots of the videos, and I wonder if it does alter the facial recognition so that all of a sudden I may look like somebody else or look like a different ethnicity. And part of that becomes the other issue. Why would you all of a sudden need me to be a different ethnicity? Why isn't being a descendant of West Indians okay? Like, what changed? Well, part of it, I think, is that it changed the background they wanted me to have. So part of this goes back to when we're talking about this system. It seems like there's an established system that the victims are certain races, certain, you might have a secret, so you have certain things in your background. And if you take that out of the situation, then why was I victimized? The reason I'm saying that I was victimized this way is because it's a hate crime. They hate me, and it wouldn't matter what I do, how I look, they would always hate me. It has nothing, to me, it has nothing to do with my background, West Indian, not West Indian, you know, my education, things I've accomplished, which goes back to the hygiene problem. It goes back to the idea that something in me is dirty, and I would have to always clean, clean, clean in order to be even seen in them for them as somebody who would be human. So I don't think it has anything to do with being West Indian or not. The other point about that, they said just now, well, that goes back to why I'm not against foreign people. I'm not. Like, this was never an issue before all this. So why they bring up the foreign aspect is when they started talking and they tried to, like my YouTube videos were being seen by people who have like a connection to certain countries. And I'm like, that's strange. The majority of the people watching, like usually the majority of my views in the past, because they forget I had a YouTube channel, same name, before this from 2014. And I used to look at the analytics because I had more than just a phone. I had my computer. And I used to look at the analytics. Well, what's the age range? What's the location? And my age ranges were similar to now, like older. Thank goodness, It was older. It was American. It was, I had people who would leave comments and so forth. It's changed and shifted when this started to happen to me. And I wondered why. Like all of a sudden I see countries watching these videos and I'm like, what is the interest from those countries? And I used to use like the analytics as thumbnails so people could see. Then it stopped and it went back to being mainly American. And that to me makes sense. And the reason they are upset is they said that some of my videos, because of the sounds in the background, it sounds different when you play it. It sounds like they call it double talk. Like I'm saying something, but there's talking in the background saying something else. It's like a messaging system. Well, people have to know that if there's a way of creating a messaging system where people who live around you can use my video, because they always say, don't say your or you, my video to send a message to someone else, and that person knows to watch my channel to connect to the message. We have to know this. It's important. That's important information. That could explain why during certain times they needed me to create videos so that all of a sudden their messaging system would work. But that's part of this. Part of this is how do you explain to people that it's not just about hygiene? It's a bigger issue for them. It's an issue of how do we stalk and harass people to get them to help us. And they've said that repeatedly. They needed me. Well, what do you need me for? You need victims to get control of something, to enable something to happen. And that's a big deal. The other part of that's a big deal is that I can't hear what they just said. The other part of that is that if this is being used by groups to communicate, and instead of making it look like they're the ones doing it, making it look like I'm the one doing it, that has to be told also. I have to tell people that people have a system where the sounds, if I'm talking and telling you this and they're talking in the background, someone else can hear that other way of talking over my talking. Well, you have to know that. That has to be researched. That has to be investigated. So how do you prevent that? Telling. The other point about this is that this system of abuse means that if my biometrics are different, again, I'm not sure if my facial recognition would be changed, but again, I combine a lot of old pictures with current videos, and they noticed that because they're watching my eye movement. So they said they can tell when my eyes focus. So for example, if I'm looking at the word live on top of this, they can tell when I focus on that versus looking for something else. But what doesn't make any sense is that I can't really see it anyway. That I don't think they can. I think that's part of a mind trick. But the fact that they even claim that has to be looked into. The idea that they're using me to figure out what my eyes are focusing on is an issue. So when I'm watching something like, did you look at that person's ass? Did you look at that person's boobs? Did you look at that person's this? It's lies, but it's supposed to make me feel that they have a way of catching me. I'm gonna catch you doing something. I'm going to say you did this wrong thing. So clearly I wasn't doing the wrong things before, because they've had this system. They said they've done it all my life, but now suddenly I'm looking at butts and looking at boobs and looking. So meaning it's so much about control and dominating the victim, that even what I watch, what my eyes focus on. So they said they said in the light my eyes are brown or whatever, and I would show you my eyes, and I haven't, because I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. At one point they said that they're always looking for a certain look. I do believe that, but the eyes, my eye color doesn't matter. But the whole point becomes, it's not to me about the eye color. I think they said, Shamika, this is a trick. What's the trick? To get me to reveal all this stuff. Well, then I want that. I want this stuff revealed. They said, who does it help ultimately? It helps victims. You see how I'm having a side conversation with voices in my head? No, I can't. You can't have a hot side conversation like this with voices in your head. I mean, come on. So they said, they said, pretty much you guys just witnessed it. This is why I like doing these lives. You witnessed what just happened. I'm having this conversation with you, and they said, who does this help? And I said, it helps victims. They said, no. So they're trying to say in a completely separate thought process that this isn't helping victims. They said it's helping the police. What's helping the police? They said my voice just got better. It sounds exactly the same. That's another thing. Oh my goodness, that just reminded me. Once I started doing these videos, I could finally see myself, because I don't really see myself. They said, didn't you years ago talk into a mirror? Yes, I do. But I don't see myself. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, when you talk into a mirror, it's not the same as a video of you. So talking into a mirror is different. And they said a lot of people do that, especially a lot of people in sales and customer service. It helps. So again, when we're talking about these things that they all of a sudden think are like, wow, that's creepy. It's very normal. It's very normal, especially if you're in customer service, sales, practicing in front of a mirror, going over certain things. It's not creepy. It's not weird. They said, what about actors? Again, this isn't my head, not my head. I'm having a side conversation with them and not with you, but I want to bring you into the conversation. So pretty much what they're saying to me, that this isn't helping, because it's saying that they have this technology to do this. So going back to the eyes, I want you guys, I don't want you guys to worry about my eye color, but when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the camera right now. They can tell if my eyes turn to looking at the word live at the top, because they're saying that my eyes change. Now, they said that's a trick. No, part of it's true, because your eyes shift, or your parts of your eyes with a camera, they can tell. What is the trick is that they can't always tell. So the trick becomes, and I can't really see the word live because this inflammation messes with my eyesight. They can't always tell. So what I'm saying is, and I'm going to do a video where I just do how they perform these tricks. With technology, these tricks are possible. Without technology, these tricks aren't possible. They use a lot of expensive technology. So in order to intimidate me and abuse me, this technology is necessary. So they said, why did I talk about them being able to communicate behind our videos? So you confirm that it's possible. There it is. They just confirmed it. Someone's upset. I upset them a lot, but they're imaginary. Do you get what I mean? Like, if the voices are in my head, I wouldn't have these side conversations like this. They wouldn't tell me things that I wouldn't know. The things that I grew up with are normal. Like, part of this is that, you know, they're saying, well, I'm communicating with the world, so I would have to know what's acceptable to everyone. Not on this channel. This channel is about victims of abuse. It's about gang stalking. It's about surveillance. It's about monitoring. It's about, they said, what about the AI? They're very upset. Like, certain things I do make them very upset because they feel that it's going against their little list that they created, but also what they think is going to help them. So they feel like my channel was supposed to help them, but it doesn't. It really does expose them and it hurts them. It helps victims though. And when, as I'm telling you, you know, these things, I want to go back to what I was talking about in terms of videotaping myself, filming, whatever you want to call it. I say filming usually, but videotaping. I don't know if this is even really considered videotape because there's no tape involved, but that's what I'm saying. I would get caught up in that stuff and it would cause the arguments. But the goal was to keep me from publicizing that this is possible and why they do it. Because if you have technology that can do even a little bit of this, they can sell it and they can make money off it. So going back to when I talked about how it helped me to be able to see myself, not in a mirror, because in a mirror, it's still, you can't look back on it. You just see yourself at the time, but you can't go back to it and then say, oh, I don't do that. They said, I do such and such. Oh, I don't do that. They said this, I don't do that. So they said, I always like have my eyes moving all over the place like a crazy person. I worked with people. If I had those types of, you know, appearance things, creepy, like they said, I'm creepy. I'm looking all over the place. Something else they said, I wouldn't have been in these businesses. It wouldn't work. If I had a hygiene problem, it wouldn't work. So a big issue is that they said, oh, they just have another side conversation. Again, these are like, here it is. It's they said it's about dominance and control. It's about taking, if you take back your power, they're going to try to snatch it away. It's going to be constant fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And the more I expose that this is happening, the more other victims say, hey, that happened to me. So they said, you know, I want to go back again to showing, you know, I'm trying to show you that as I'm going through this, doesn't it look like my skin color looks lighter? It's just the lighting. But they said, I want to show you this because men won't find me attractive. I think in this situation, living with this, it's not attractive anyway. I think, you know, they keep accusing me of going back to a situation that they keep talking about. The point becomes, I think it was meant for me to think that I would never be considered attractive after I've been abused this way. And I want to talk about how I feel about that. You know, on the Shamiga J channel, I talk about what I feel, you know. This channel, I usually try to keep it just research, you know, what the program is. But I want to just go off and just say for a second how I feel about that. In a lot of ways, that is probably the most manipulative thing they do. That no one will want you anymore. No one will care about you. You won't be sexy. That was a big deal. You were sexy before with a hygiene problem. But I, you know, you were sexy and now no one will want you. You're not going to be good. People will, they said people think I'm the devil. People will think I'm evil. People will think I brought about, you know, what's the thing when hate towards the people doing this. And as a victim, you say, that's so manipulative because there's an easy way to stop all of that. Stop doing this. Stop doing it. It's not, people aren't going to think victims are causing, hate towards the abusers. People will think that the abusers are abusers. And people will start to figure out, well, what is this similar to? If it's similar to something that was done in a foreign country and you bring it to the US where we have freedom of speech, we have freedom to tell, you're not going to change that. And you're not going to, okay, here's a deeper feeling that I have. You're not going to take that from me. And that's the deeper feeling I have. When you came up with these tactics that you've used in country where they don't have the same freedoms we have, that's something else. But you're not going to take away my freedom of speech, my ability to tell what's happening to me. And to me, I feel that they are trying to destroy this country. The moment we can't say what we're feeling and thinking without them controlling and cutting me off and doing all these things, then we're not going to be the US. So they just said, don't you feel that that's going to cause fear of foreign people? No. I think you want to cause fear of foreign people. I think they're doing this to get that. I think that's what this is supposed to be. I think they're using tactics to make Americans fear foreign people instead of just stopping these tactics. But this isn't a foreign system. It's 100% a foreign system. It's not an American system. In America, you can say what you want as long as it's not hate speech or lies like they've been doing. There would be, under normal circumstances, there would be nothing wrong with me doing these videos. But suddenly, people are going to fear this and people are going to attack these people and people are going to do that. Why? What's the manipulation behind that? The manipulation is that they said, it's because we live here. You're telling people where we live. There we are. It wasn't being done remotely. They had a big argument. Again, they are, to me, they are the best people to talk to. Why talk to me? Well, I think they should cut me out of the conversation completely. They just admit it because they live here. They said a lot of their voices are done from here. So when they said, at one point, they said, why cut him off? I don't know why. I don't know what that means. At one point, it was a big thing. It's done remotely. The person that can't be next to you is, no, it's someone nearby. Finally, they admit it is. And you can, because of the technology, you can have people involved who aren't nearby, but it has to be someone nearby. Part of the other issue is that when we're talking about using this type of technology, it's illegal. And when you're using illegal technology and illegal communication systems, there shouldn't be a time when it's used the way this has been used. There are so many good targeted individuals who talk about this, and they're all over the world. They're not just in the United States. I don't know what they said. They said, they always say my name a lot. So that Shamiga, I think they said, Shamiga, we're surprised. Shamiga this, Shamiga that, which is partly why this had to be proven that it's directed towards me. So at one point they said, I'm sort of listening to other people's conversations. No, it's always directed towards me. So it's Shamiga, blah, blah, blah. Shamiga, blah, blah, blah. It's always like that. They said that Shamiga was just going to leave. Oh, anyway, so the other part of the abuse is that you heard how that person said we're just going to leave, meaning they said abandonment, meaning I'm supposed to react like, you know, it's that constant need to feel like they're more powerful, they're stronger, they're in control, they know what's going on. And for me to be able to sit here and record this and watch myself and listen for that hissing sound or listen for different things, it's it's helped me. When I look at my videos and I say, well, am I looking around a lot? Am I doing this wrong? That's it. That's the feeling. I'm doing something wrong. That's the psychological game. So when they accuse me of doing something wrong and I can see, well, I didn't do that. And if I did something, it's not wrong. There's not, there's nothing wrong with these things. It becomes how I can then say as a victim, they want me to feel like I'm doing something wrong. They want me to feel that I can't be in control of myself because I'm out of control. So it's the constant wanting me to feel like I'm out of control. They said, what if they edit out these sounds and so forth? They've already told so many people. It's funny. They said at one point, I'm going to just shift my arm. At one point, I'm doing this because I should have worn a bra, but I didn't. At one point, they called and said that they were going to do this thing for me. And then they said they voted for me to be the victim of this. They said that they've involved different people. So they said at one point they involved people from my high school who they knew, which goes to show that they were planning this. This wasn't something that they just got involved in. It was planned. And when you say that they were planning it and they did something, they said they're just going to shut us down, that you should have been shut down before. But please tell the world you're doing this. If you're proud of your accomplishments and your achievements, and so much so that you have to do it this way, I hope the day who shuts us down or shuts this whole system down exposes it too. They said, you said us. Yes, it's they put me out loud. That's what I'm telling you. I did a video where they said, and this is a quote from them, they wanted to catch me on a hot mic. That wouldn't be something I would think of, like hot mic. For me, what exactly is hot mic? But it seems like when they catch you, when the microphone is supposed to be shut off, and you don't know the microphone is still on, and you say something, it's a hot mic, I think. So they wanted to catch me on a hot mic. So they were recording me and broadcasting this because they said they admitted that they did this out loud and they were going to catch me on a hot mic. I'm just going to pause this for a second. So I don't know. Who are you? Who are you? The boy is the abuse. They're not going to allow this. They're not going to allow that abuse. So I don't know what's going on with the camera and why it looks this way, but more than likely their technology is an issue. So, okay. Did that bring it back? No. Okay, so I don't know what happened, but this. Okay, so I don't know what happened, but this is what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is this is it. Everything is always an issue, and they said, why don't I take a screenshot? Again, that's not my head talking. It's them. But the problem I'm having with them needing control is they can't control themselves. They said, what if I turned out to be a successful person? You wouldn't be doing this if you were a successful person. This isn't helping. You can tell this is actually hurting me, literally and medically and mentally hurting me. So a professional person would know that this is partially why it's important that I talk about abuse in general, not just in gang stalking, but abuse in general. That anyone who's a professional who notices all this would normally say, this is not a good situation, and this person can't live in this type of situation. They said they're in shock. They said, oh, maybe I don't want to tilt it up like this because someone will see a spot on my wall. They said, didn't I get the message to show the spot on my wall? Why am I not turning around to show the spot on my wall? That's another thing that goes back to this whole idea that I'm dirty, that there's something disgusting in me or disgusting about me. They said deep in my soul, I'm a disgusting human being. They said deep in my soul, I'm a disgusting human being. That I have like a demon or devil. Does that sound like people who make sense? I'm just gonna get the cord to charge my phone. I mean, do you think that sounds like a professional person talking about me having like demons and devils in me? You know, they said, and why would they want to put people around me? That's part of this. You know, if you live here, at one point they were talking about, bringing people around me, especially foster children. If you live here, why are you putting foster children where you live? They said that's a better question. I think so. I'm wondering if they can't be around the foster kids, but they feel like if I can, it would be a way of putting foster kids next to them. They said all these years of what? So I don't know. They're upset about something. I usually do V2K emotional state, or how they're feeling about something. What's their emotional? Today they've been emotional a lot recently. They feel that this is not looking the way they thought it would. And since it doesn't look the way they thought it would, it's going to make them targeted. So I think in some ways they're saying that they'll become targeted individuals because of this. And they feel that if people realize their backgrounds, it will look like it was more than just the stalking and the surveillance and the abuse. It'll look like, I can't hear what they're saying, but excuse me, it will look like it's more than just a stalking and abuse, but they just said it will look like a personality defect. Again, not something I would say. Again, the focus is always about race or how something will make a particular group look, or how not people like me who they don't care about, but the groups of people they care about will see through them. And partially, when I'm talking to you about that, I'm starting to wonder why the groups of people who they want to impress wouldn't be impressed despite what I say. Meaning they're giving me a lot of power by saying that the people they want to impress will look and listen to me more. So it will be constant nicking each other. We don't get along. So if the people I get along with who know, listen, I'm showing you proof. There are other people saying the same thing. If you're here in Co-op City, I live in Co-op City, you know this is happening. We've had a lot of this. It's been in the Co-op City Times. People came here and started like yelling out the window, throwing stuff, garbage out the window, like craziness. And when they're saying, why don't I move? I've lived here since 1998. It's hard. And that goes back to this abuse, the idea that I will have to adjust to such big things happening to me in order to get away from these people. And are they going to then try to go where I am the next place? And so I'm going to end this live since the head looks weird. I gotta look at, let me see. I don't know if you guys see the weird head, but I'm not going to take a screenshot of it. But since the head looks weird, I'm going to end this and then come on later. Thank you for watching.